Hey, what's up guys? Bajheera here. Got another gym video for you guys. Trying to get back in the swing of things a little bit after a very busy but fun and productive little TwitchCon plus BlizzCon adventure there to finish off, I guess, October and then begin the month of November. So we're getting back into it though. It always feels like whenever I do a little bit of traveling stuff, it kind of throws my training off even a little bit. Because, I mean, I'll still be training at BlizzCon. I was still training at TwitchCon as well, but then when it's like you get at the other end of all those really intense effort sort of events, it's like, whew, kind of rebuild a little bit. But fortunately, before TwitchCon, we hit the goal of hitting that 400-pound squat, or I guess it was 405-pound squat at below 200 pounds body weight. So that's really, really cool. I'm glad we hit that, and then it sort of gives us a chance to rebuild a little bit once we come back from all of that, which is important. It's, for me, I pretty much with my training try to always be building and building towards, you know, getting a little bit better as we go, because I know that there will be moments like our travel events where that is going to sort of be a natural deload period, right? So after BlizzCon, we've been deloading a little bit, which allows me to recover, I guess, and sort of get myself back in the mental swing of things too, and then slowly start building back up. And usually, what I mean by building in this case is kind of work on the weights that I'm working with. So a lot of times my weights will be a lot lighter after an event like that, and then we'll sort of slowly build up on the weights. But another thing that's changing is I'm actually going to start building up on my calories too. I've been talking about how we've been doing a bit of a dieting phase, like a little mini cut for the past like 3-4 months. Slimmed down to somewhere around 200, probably a little bit under 200, honestly. And now I'm gonna slowly work my calories back up to maintenance. That's what I'm doing now. That's what I've been doing for the past couple weeks, is sort of bump my calories up maybe 50 to 100 per week on my way up to reaching around 3K. I'll probably hold steady at around 3K for a bit and then start building into a very small surplus. Probably don't intend on going too much higher than 3,500 max. I don't even know if I'll need 3,500, to be honest. If I feel good around like 32, 3,300, that sounds good to me. I estimate my maintenance is probably around 3K at the moment, but 3,200 to 3,300 is reasonable. 3,500 would be the cap on how many calories I want to get up to on a daily basis. But I think if we train hard and maybe try to stay pretty disciplined on getting in a little bit of cardio, and for cardio I just mean like going for like walks with Jenny, which is really nice. We get to spend time together, but it's also good to just get a little more exercise. And as long as I'm diligent about my training and getting a little bit of cardio in, I think 3,500 does not sound unreasonable to me. And the reason I want to do mini bulk after doing this little mini cut is because I still do have my mind on competing again next year near the end of the year. And so I want to definitely take some time to put myself in a surplus, stay relatively lean, but also try to put on just a little bit more muscle, especially on my back and my shoulders. And what you're seeing here is basically a pretty regular shoulder day for me. My workouts recently have been based around some sort of compound movement, and then I do a lot of little accessory movements. And if you watch the gym stream, which you got pretty regularly every day once again now, is I'll do pretty much arms and shoulders every day. Arms and shoulders and pull-ups just about every day. One of the reasons for that is I feel like pull-ups feel good, and arms and shoulders, like the exercise I'm doing here, allow me to take a few moments between big compound movements and read chat. So even if I'm benching, a lot of times I'll come over here and do a few sets of curls, a few sets of lateral raises, maybe even some dumbbell like presses, some shoulder presses, and then of course throw some pull-ups in there as well. So it's a lot of like kind of accessory secondary movements. But I feel like if I put a little bit of blood in those muscles every day, if I give them a little bit of work every day, who knows if it actually makes a difference, but it feels to me like it makes a difference. I still have like sort of that, I feel like it sort of enhances my mind-muscle connection if I'm giving my muscles a little bit of love every day. But on a day like today, this is an actual shoulder workout, right? So OHP has never been a big, strong lift for me. But once again, I feel like OHP has never been strong because I've never really consistently trained OHP. And overhead press is what I mean by that. So nowadays, for my shoulder days, I actually am trying to get some overhead pressing done. And it's not really very heavy overhead pressing, but it feels good, and I feel like it definitely affects my shoulders differently than if I was just doing dumbbell presses. And the one thing that's fun about OHP is I actually feel it in my back more, especially at the top of the movement. I feel like your traps rather than just being a supportive muscle for holding your shoulders up against heavy weight, like on something like a rack pull. I feel like they do a lot of work stabilizing at the top of the movement too. So when you get kind of up past, when you get your hands past your shoulders, especially maybe like 3/4 of the way through the movement, I feel like the supportive part of your traps pushing the weight up really comes into play there. And I really need all the work I can get on my traps and my upper back, so OHP pretty much fits the bill on wanting to help my shoulders grow, but also my upper back to grow as well. And now one of the things I'm noticing just about this footage right here, something I need to continue to work on and put a lot of work into, are my rear delts. I feel like my shoulders may be growing a little bit. I feel like my back has probably developed since my last physique competition. But rear delts are definitely one of those things on the list that I need to hammer. So I'm probably going to, especially during the lean bulking phase where I actually am in a surplus and actually can grow a little bit, I think that one of the main things I'm going to be working on are those rear delts as well. But pretty much my entire upper back is a point of concern and has been for a while, but I think rack pulls have been really helpful for that. I think that rack pulls have even been helpful in developing even parts of my lower back, because I haven't been deadlifting as much. What I've been doing mostly is squatting pretty much every 4 days, and then doing rack pulls every 4 days as well. So like a 4-day rotation, I'll do like basically legs, and then chest, and then some sort of back day, whether it's a rack pull. I usually have been alternating actually with a rack pull and then a row day, and then I'll do shoulders after my back day. That's what I'm going to be training today actually, and what I'm training here is a shoulder day, and then I'll do legs again, and that's been working out pretty well for me. I feel like deadlifts, I do deadlifts sometimes, but I haven't been deadlifting every week like I used to, because deadlifts kind of beat me up more than squatting does. So, and really for deadlifts, I'm not really trying to have a massive deadlift right now. The deadlifts have been mostly for my legs and for my upper back, and so like if they're beating me up, I was like, well, why don't I just train legs with squats, which usually feel good, and squats continue to feel better the more I squat, so that's good. And then just do rack pulls, which is something, an exercise I really hadn't done before, but an exercise that I saw, I keep giving him shout outs for it. Alpha Destiny was a big proponent of rack pulls, and so I've been giving them a try, really enjoying them. Not going crazy heavy, because with the weights I've got in my home gym, I love the home gym, but an interesting sort of development here is that I've actually sort of outgrown the weights that I have, right? I got these big bumper plates, which are a lot of fun to use, but I think eventually we're going to have to get some thinner metal plates so I can actually continue to progress that weight, because I really can only kind of fit like 425, 435 on the bar before the clips just literally don't go on the bar anymore. And I might need a little bit more weight than that to progress my squats and deadlifts and rack pulls over the winter time if we actually get that strong again. We'll see. Hopefully the food that we've got going in will be enough. But last time I got that strong was I was putting in like, 4,500 calories, maybe even sometimes 5,000 calories a day, gaining a lot of weight, but getting really strong too, so that was fun. But this time we're going to keep that bulk a little bit leaner. I imagine we can put that strength in too, because we can squat 405 at 200 pounds body weight, and I imagine if we get into a good training rhythm and get a good amount of food in, we'll be just fine. But anyway, that's kind of like my my exercise rotation, and that's been working pretty well for me. I feel like the home gym, it's definitely mostly based around compound movements. Really don't have any machines to work with. But that's been a fun experiment for me, is to see how my body responds to not having machine work, like not having cable work. I do have that little band, the resistance band, that do tricep pushdowns, and that's been kind of fun. I feel like that's another avenue that I could pursue as well, is using more bands and chains and things like that. My sister and her fiance, who are both big into powerlifting, I think really make a lot of use of bands and stuff like that. Right now, I don't think I'm really strong enough to need bands. I feel like the progression path that I've been on is probably fine for me to just keep hammering the weights and get as much out of that before I introduce bands and stuff. Because for me, I think there is value in keeping things relatively simple. But my training program that I've been on recently has been a lot of fun for me. I feel like it's even though I've been dieting, it's been pretty good. I feel like I've gotten a little bit leaner. I don't really need to get much leaner than this, which is why I'm starting my lean bulk now. I want to make sure I give myself some time to grow. But all in all, I think that I do want to stay leaner. I feel like I feel better being a little bit leaner, which is one thing. But of course, if I'm going to compete again at the end of 2018, I don't necessarily want to put on a whole lot more body fat, because really all that's going to do is make it a little bit difficult, or a little bit more difficult, to reach that that conditioning that I like to have going into competition. Because for physique, I don't necessarily have to be huge. I don't think that's even the goal, and I don't think I could achieve that goal in a year or 6 months of bulking. But one of the reasons I like physique is because it really comes down to conditioning. So if I can put on some muscle in areas that need it, like, probably, basically, my entire back needs to grow, basically. My lats need to grow, my traps need to grow, even my triceps need to grow, my rear delts need to grow. All of that is very important. So we'll keep hammering those rack pulls, keep hammering the overhead press, which is great for my back and shoulders too. Keep hammering my lateral raises, try to work the weights up a little bit on those perhaps to keep the form good. And as long as I can improve my back and my shoulders, I feel like my abs were pretty good, my chest was pretty good. As long as I can put on a little bit of mass on those areas and then achieve the same kind of conditioning that I had before, I think we're going to be pretty much good to go. Not necessarily to be a champion at the next highest level of physique, but at least be better than last time. And that's all I'm going to ask for. So we're going to keep putting in work, stay relatively lean, have that diet work for me like it did last time, and see what we can do. But anyway, training's going well. I hope your training's going well too. Love to see you guys in the gym stream every day. But thank you guys so much for watching these videos. Make sure to show them love if you enjoy them, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace!